Bear, for some reason, you stumbled on this, what is this, a survey? Did they ask you what your favorite musician was?
They did not,
no?
but they asked all 64, well, I guess it'd be 68 or whatever.
Yeah,
how many
68,
teams?
yeah.
68 teams, each coach who their favorite musician was. And you got the usual answers. Bruce Springsteen, there were some Michael Jackson.
I'm glad they used some time to ask this
I thought
important question.
The two answers that surprised me the most were Wisconsin's Greg Gard said Travis Tritt.
Nice.
Of all people. And the Green Bay coach, Link Darner said Meatloaf. So the two state representatives' favorite musicians are Meatloaf and Travis Tritt, which I don't care who you are. That's funny.
You know, maybe with Greg Gard's case, he just doesn't have time to listen to music anymore, so he's got to throw it back.
Obviously, somebody's got to introduce Greg to Pandora.
Well, I would rather have him say that than
here's a quarter,
Florida-Georgia line or something like that.
But the funny part is then they ranked them all according to how many answers. Rock was 12 and country was 9 and R&B was 6 or 7, and then they had a separlike category for Meatloaf.
One
doesn't get
I
a
assume
category.
He was the only one.
Yes,
nobody else said Meatloaf among the 68 coaches. I like what Link Darner's done. First year, he gets Green Bay in the tournament for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah, and Gard too.
It's March Madness. We're between high school sports. We're not going to talk anything else except for brackets and Bucky today because what in the world else was going on this week?
Talk about.
So we'll have all that coming up on this week's episode of Extra Points. I wish we could just have Meatloaf intro us into this and get us all set because that would really get me going.
That would good.
A
little bit of Paradise or anything. Meatloaf is good. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Well, the things in the rearview mirror are closer than they appear or something.
But I won't do that.
All right, we're done.
We're done with Meatloaf.
John Barry over here. I'm Eric Schmoldt. From the Gazette sports staff. This is our weekly show, Extra Points, where we get together and talk about what's going on in the world of sports. And obviously this week, as you probably all know, because you probably spent 0 time working and you spent most of your time filling out brackets, it's March Madness.
Bracketology.
That's pretty much all you need to talk about this week, I would think. But I think we start locally with the Badgers. We didn't really know going into last week. We thought they could be seeded somewhere between 6 and 11, even really, depending on what would happen in the tournament. Well, the worst thing that could possibly happen in the Big Ten tournament happens and they lose to Nebraska and they still wind up with a 7 seed. So
I'm perfectly fine with it. If you look at it overall, Wisconsin, the bracket they're in, the 2 seed is Xavier. Okay. That's who there'd be their second round opponent likely. The other 2 seeds are Michigan State, Villanova and Oklahoma. So I'd much rather play Xavier than those other 3. And at the top of that bracket that the Badgers are in is North Carolina, who I think is the most overrated number 1 seed. They got 11 losses. I mean, a number 1 seed to me should be 28-3. And I think Carolina's 22-11 or something. I mean, I know they're good. They're playing well, but they don't scare me.
I would tend to agree with you. Let's get to the rest of the bracket in a minute, but let's just break down the Badgers. Let's go first of all, Friday. Before they can get anywhere else in this bracket, they got to beat Pitt. And
right.
I think my thing with the Badgers right now is, like you said, with this bracket, I could see them doing some damage.
I could too.
But if they play like they played against Nebraska, they're not even going to beat Pitt.
No, they won't. You're right. It'd be one and done. And that's the key. And looking into Pitt a little bit, very physical, like to pound the offensive glass. Have had some good wins, beat Duke by, I think, 15. And then have had some bad losses. And really, over the last month of the season, unlike the Badgers, who, have been playing pretty well up until the last couple of games. But, Wisconsin's going to have to play better than they did against Nebraska, that's for sure. But, take care of the ball, make each possession count, and not get beat on the boards. And I think if they can do that, I think Hayes plays better. Bronson Koenig certainly has to play better. Ethan Happ, those guys just have to play better because they've kind of been carrying it all year for them. And now you're in tournament. You got to forget about what's happened in the past and just go out and play. And I think it's a good matchup for Wisconsin, and I would expect them to come out of there with a win. They're a 1-point favorite, and I don't think it's going to be a blowout on either side, but I look for Bucky to get a win Friday night in advance.
I think it just scares me because for 6 weeks there, it was like if I would have seen him as a 7, I would have said, hey, Michigan State is a 7 last year, made it all the way to the Final Four. And with how hot the Badgers were, I would have said, it could happen. I wouldn't. But now Purdue, that's a little different game. Purdue
would have beaten anybody that
gives
game.
Teams, and they give teams a tougher test with their big guys down low. But really Nebraska, and that game, to me, it looked like the beginning of the season against Western Illinois or Milwaukee. I mean, how do you make sure that you don't fall back into that funk for a second game?
Well, I think Nigel Hayes said it best when he talked about when they went on the road and beat Maryland. Guards said, "Hey, look, don't get too high. It's one game. We got a lot of work left to do. We're not going to start, thinking that we're that good." And obviously they responded after the Maryland game with a couple of more good wins. I think the Nebraska game, the thing that bothered me the most is that Nebraska coach even admitted it, that we wanted to make it a playground game and isolate, and they did that, and the Badgers didn't adjust. And I think the easiest way to adjust to that is if you're getting beat baseline, you're getting beat at the basket, go to a zone. And I know you don't like to do that, but you got to stop the bleeding somehow. And I didn't think that they made adjustments. Probably the first time I questioned whether guard did enough things in game to give that team a chance to win.
You talked about Koenig and Hayes. Give me somebody that I'm not going to let you give me Happy either, even though he's a freshman. Give me somebody that is kind of like the X factor maybe in this bracket if Wisconsin's going to make a deep run
on the Badger team.
Yeah,
I would probably go with Iverson, a guy that certainly, he's made a difference in some games. He's disappeared in other games. He just hasn't gotten a chance to play, but I think he's a guy that can get to the rim. He's certainly somebody that can rebound, and I think his overall game has gotten better. And, you get into a tournament and you're playing, like this weekend, you're playing Friday, Sunday, you got to have some fresh legs. And I would expect Iverson to get probably a little bit more playing time, and I guess the same would go for Charlie Thomas.
I'm going to say Showalter.
Okay.
And because there's been some games recently where he's gotten some foul trouble. I mean, he's got to keep himself on the court.
He does.
And he's a guy who has some tournament experience. Obviously, they lost a lot of the main players from a year ago, but he's been in some of these situations. And,
he has been through the grind, and he's a guy that's got that experience in playing in 2 Final Fours. So I would agree with you. That'd be a good call as well.
So what do you think?
I think they beat Pittsburgh, and I think obviously it'd be Xavier on Sunday. And I don't know much about Xavier. I know Marquette played him twice, but it's
fairly close games all the time. Single-digit games.
It's that time of the year, and the Badgers seem to pick it up. And you know what? I'm going to say they get through to the Sweet 16.
Here's my thing: if they get to the Sweet 16, I think they're going to win another game because who are they going to play? Notre Dame or Michigan or West Virginia?
Bob Huggins, bunch of thugs at West Virginia.
I think they get there, they win another game.
Very likely.
But I don't think they're going to get there. I'm going to have them losing to Xavier.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're playing well into next weekend, playing for another third trip to the Final Four in a row.
That'd be awesome. Yes.
I think it's possible.
I do too. I think when you look at their bracket, it is possible.
I won't be sitting here a week from now like shocked if we're still talking about them. Let's put it that way.
Or if they lose Friday night, I won't be stunned either.
That's right. That's that kind of team and that kind of year.
It's exactly that.
You could say that probably about a lot of these teams in this whole bracket.
I agree.
Why don't we just stay in that sector there, that region, and we'll go through and just kind of say our Final Four picks or anything that sticks out as interest, maybe upset pick or something.
I think the biggest one that sticks out is Indiana, Kentucky in round 2. I mean, those two schools refused to play each other during the regular season. Obviously, the NCAA had something going on there because to put Kentucky in a 4 seed is a joke. I mean, the Wildcats just won their conference. Texas A&M's a 3 seed. Kentucky beat them on Sunday, and they're ranked 9th in the latest AP poll. So how is a team that's ranked 9th that just won their conference championship a 4 seed? It doesn't make any sense. But I think that's a great second-round matchup with Crean and Calipari going at it in really a quarterfinal, not even a quarterfinal game, and it's probably too early, but that's going to be your best game of the weekend if it really happens. The upper part of it, I don't think North Carolina will have any trouble with their first 2 games, possibly Providence maybe a little bit in round 2, but I doubt it. So
no. That's probably my biggest upset pick of the whole bracket. I think I've got Providence over North Carolina. I am on board with you and thinking that North Carolina, everybody's loving North Carolina. Yep. I don't buy it, and Providence has the guards, I think, to keep up with North Carolina, and I don't think many people will give them a chance. So I'm taking Providence into the Sweet 16.
Okay. All right. Not sure what you're smoking, but that's okay.
You got any upsets in this bracket or not?
No. I think if I had to pick a team right now to come through, I'd probably go with West Virginia. I just think they're deep and talented, and in basically what's a 3-day tournament where you play 2 games. Teams with a lot of depth usually come out pretty well. So I'm going to go with the Mountaineers as my Final Four pick out of that bracket.
Interesting. I am going with the team you already talked about as well, being completely underseeded and underrated, and then I think John Calipari gets them back again. Give me Kentucky back to the Final Four.
All right, good call on that as well.
I think whoever comes – to me, it's whoever comes out of the top half of that, because we talked about how much of a crapshoot the bottom half is. I think it's whoever comes out, whether it's North Carolina or Kentucky or Indiana, or that's who's.
Please not Indiana. Please.
I
can't handle Tom Crean any more than one game.
On the bottom part, on that side of the bracket, you've got Virginia as the 1 seed, Michigan State. I thought probably should have been a 1 seed. They're the number 2 there. Utah the number 3, and Iowa State the number 4. Give me.
My Cinderella pick for the whole tournament is the Boilermakers. The 5th-seeded Boilermakers. I don't know if you really call that Cinderella, but as a 5 seed and with their size, if they win Friday and Iowa State's got 1 day to prepare for that size, forget it. I mean, they are so big and long that I really think the Boilermakers, Virginia's not going to score a lot of points, and there's nobody that has the size that Purdue has. So I like the Boilermakers in the top to at least advance to the Elite Eight. I look at the bottom half of it. I think Gonzaga's a team to look out for at 11 seed. They've gotten better. But I think when I look at it, I think I'm in agreement with most of the people, the pools that I've seen, is that Michigan State's a team to beat out of that bracket.
I think so, too. You got them in the Final Four?
I got them in the Final Four.
I do, too. I think I told you guys on Saturday that one of my kind of sleeper picks was Utah.
Yep.
And I also kind of liked Gonzaga as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see them, they're all together there, and they're with Seton Hall, which is like one of the hottest teams in the country.
Right.
And they're in with Michigan State. So I'm like, well, the 2 teams that I kind of wanted to call as under the radar a little bit, well, I don't really get
I
that
like an all
opportunity.
Big Ten Elite Eight game between Michigan State and Purdue. Yep.
Big Ten tournament championship rematch.
Yep.
Michigan State led that one pretty much the whole way,
did.
but it wasn't a blowout by any means.
Entertaining.
I do think whoever comes out of that Seton Hall, Gonzaga, Utah is going to give Michigan State a little bit of a run.
Oh, I don't think the Sparty's going to roll through it, but I just think that, again, it's Tom Izzo, it's tournament. Valentine is obviously probably the player of the year in the country and good enough, and they've just got a lot of pieces that seem to fit. Especially right now with the tournament.
Look at a possible interesting second round game too, as Boeheim versus Izzo.
Oh, jeepers! Syracuse shouldn't even be in there.
That would be intriguing.
That would be intriguing, but I hope Dayton beats them by 100.
Where do you want to go, up or
let's go to the
the
bottom
side?
part with Oregon, which I don't know how they're a number 1 seed, but they are. A bracket that's...
Well, people say the Pac-12. I mean, you went to bed most nights before the Pac-12 played their game, so you didn't get a chance to see exactly how much damage they can do. So
that's
your Midwest bias.
When I look at that bracket, I got to believe it's Oklahoma's to lose. I think they're a much better team than Oregon. What am I basing that on? Just an eye test, I guess.
Because you like Buddy Hield?
Yeah. Don't count out the Dukies. It's that time of the year for Coach K, and he'll have them ready to play. But really, A&M saw them against Kentucky. Nice team. Not sure they've got the depth to compete with an Oklahoma. But honestly, I don't know a lot about Oregon. I know they're athletic, but I also know that the last 2 years the Badgers have knocked them out. And I just don't think they play a tough enough schedule.
You just hate the Pac-12.
I'm not a big Pac-12 guy because I
you
don't
never
see them play.
You go to sleep.
But when's the last time the Pac-12 did anything in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's been a while. I like Oklahoma as well. I just think, basically, we've gone through the first 3 brackets. I mean, I like Kentucky because they got Tyler Ulis. He's a great, one of maybe the nation's best point guard. And if he's not, it's Denzel Valentine at Michigan State, who I have in the Final
Ulis
Four.
A lot.
And then there's Buddy Hield at Oklahoma. And, I mean, he just had probably his worst game of his entire career during the Big 12 tournament. And I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that's going to make him pretty pumped up for this tournament. I got Oklahoma all the way to the Final Four as well. So we're kind of going along the same lines here. We didn't
pretty close.
We obviously
I bet we'll differ on the next one.
We didn't really go over this ahead of time.
No,
so
we did not. No.
What about, you got any sleepers or upsets?
In that bracket, well, Texas is certainly talented at number 6, and don't cut out Northern Iowa. That coach was a guy that was talked about coming to Wisconsin possibly when the whole bowl thing unfolded. So a good game there between 6 and 11. But I think the team to keep an eye on in that bracket is A&M, the 3 seed. You know, they're well coached. They've got some good depth and good balance, and a team that I think is going to cause somebody some problems. But I still think Oklahoma comes out of there.
I do too, and I think you're right with Northern Iowa. Ben Jacobson.
Yeah, Jacobson, that's it. I was thinking Anderson, but it's Jacobson.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think they could win that first game.
Yep, I agree.
But if they don't, that's the intriguing, second round matchup in that bracket is Texas A&M, because they're obviously in-state rivals, but they're not in the same conference anymore, so they don't. I think they actually did play each other earlier this year, but just see a couple of in-state rivals with some history. You have to go up against each other in the tournament would be fun.
Yep.
All right, so what's the difference maker up top? You're going to go somewhere crazy up on the.
I got Maryland going the Final Four.
Oh my!
I got the
Diamond,
and Tremble, and I mean they just have so much talent that at some point they got to put it together. I mean they don't, but they do. They don't put it together, but they do have the talent, and it's frustrating because I don't understand. They've got 2 guys that are, Tremble and Diamond are likely going to be first round picks, and other guys that can play. I just don't understand. And then I don't think the bracket's that tough, but I also think Maryland, South Dakota State with former Badger George Marshall could give them, Joe
Krabenhoft on the staff.
Could give them problems. But I think the one team everyone's talking about is Cal. Cal's got 2 first-round picks, supposedly.
To me,
the team.
Maryland and Cal are like the same.
Yeah, they are.
They have the young guys in a tournament that for once isn't based on like how many freshman first-round picks you have. These are 2 teams that have a couple of those.
Yep.
But they have been so sporadic that you just don't. I mean, it's hard for me to trust them to make it all the way to the Final Four.
Miami's been a trendy pick. Don't know much about the Hurricanes. Certainly Villanova at a 2 seed. Iowa. Will the real Hawkeyes please stand up, because you've been non-existent the last month and a half, and you've got a senior-dominated lineup. Kansas, Bill Self. Yeah, I don't get excited about them. I mean, I know. They're the number 1 overall seed, but I think Kansas finds a way to screw up somehow, and they don't get to the Final Four.
I disagree.
Okay,
I think this bracket pans out pretty well for Kansas, and so I have them going all the way through the Final Four. The only 1 seed that I think I have in the Final Four. But like you said, I mean, they found ways to mess things up in easier brackets. So. Yeah. I just don't know. This is a weird argument because I'm going to tell you I don't know how I can trust Maryland or Cal.
Right.
But now I'm going to tell you that I have Iowa in my Elite 8. So I don't know how I trust them either. But
Iowa's beat Michigan State on the road by 20. I mean, so they're capable of it too. It's just which Iowa team shows up, and the same with Maryland. But I think when you look on paper, obviously games aren't played on paper, but when you look, Maryland's the most talented team in that entire bracket. I mean, all 5 of their starters are going to get a look in the NBA. I mean, and there's not any other team on there that can say that. And, it's at some point, I just think a light bulb's going to go off, and they're going to just play like they're capable. And I'm sure I'm wrong, and they'll lose to South Dakota State on their first game, and that'll take care of my bracket.
Here's one for you. We're taping this Tuesday, so we don't know yet who wins this Vanderbilt-Wichita State match. I am going to say whichever team wins that gets all the way to the Sweet 16. I don't even care which one wins. I'm picking it before I even know which one is going to win.
Okay, and they're saying that it's the best play-in game
in the history. Whatever. I mean, there's only been like 5 years.
Know nothing about the Shockers and Vanderbilt. All I know is that they have a weird court. That's all I know.
I just think, hey, if they can win, we've seen it before. You win that Tuesday game, you get a little momentum going into the tournament. Then you can knock off Arizona, and I don't know. I don't like Miami. Doesn't really do much for me. So
no. Okay, well, let's go. Where are we at then in the Final Four?
Okay,
Your
so
Final Four.
You've got Maryland versus Oklahoma on one side.
Yep.
Who you got winning that game?
I got the Terrapins.
Maryland all the way to the final.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. My final team comes from the same side of that bracket, but I've got Kansas in the final.
All right.
And on the other side, you have West Virginia, or Press Virginia.
Yes, Press Virginia.
Bob Huggins. So you got Bob Huggins, or you got Tom Izzo in your final?
I've got Tom Izzo in my final.
So you got the all Big Ten Elite Eight between Michigan State and Purdue.
I do.
Then you got Michigan State versus Maryland at all Big Ten. You're really going homer here.
I am going homer. I'm even going more homer with the Turtles.
You're going to take Maryland all the way through.
I'm taking the Turtles to win it all.
Wow. You are something else.
I am something else.
I don't think I've heard anyone have that pick yet, though. So, hey, congrats to you.
Call me crazy,
You
but
got some guts. You're going out on a limb.
I am going out on a limb. It's $5.
Well, it's your reputation.
It is my
too.
reputation.
I have got Michigan State over Kansas in the final.
Okay. Which a lot of people have that one way or another, and that's
so pretty much we got an exact opposite. I've gone what everyone else is saying,
and I've gone what no one else is saying. Yes, but that's okay. And like I say, my team, the one team I'm saying to look out for is Purdue, and yours was
probably Kentucky. I think there's I would probably turn in a bracket to some, non-monetary thing, of course, because we needed to keep this all legal. It'd be just for fun. I'll probably turn in a bracket that has Kentucky winning it all.
Okay.
Because I think.
And I will probably turn in another bracket that has Sparty winning it all.
Yeah.
So, yep.
I think your national champion is going to come from the Big Ten. Well, you've made that clear. I'm surprised you didn't pick 4 Big Ten teams in the final four at this point.
I made in some pools. Maybe I'll go with the Wolverines.
You're going to watch. We're going to have like 3 Pac-12 teams, and you're going to say, I've never even seen any of these teams. Now they're in the final four.
I have a Cal shirt. I could wear that.
We didn't talk about Green Bay much at all.
No, we didn't talk about the
chance they can
Phoenix.
knock off Texas A&M? I don't really see it.
No, I don't think so. But
maybe the meatloaf.
The coach likes meatloaf, so maybe they listen to do you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses? I don't know. I'm not sure what they listen to before the game.
I don't even know what that is.
That's
a song?
Yeah, I don't know which one it is. It's off the Bat Out of Hell album.
The first one?
The first one.
Not the second one?
Not the second one. Not Return to Hell. No.
I'm going to have to go brush up on my meatloaf.
Right.
I don't know any of these songs. I think
you took the words right out of my mouth, I think.
Give me somebody seated like 8 or 9 or lower, because we've had a couple of those.
I like the Zags.
Years.
I like the Zags.
Oh, boy.
Yep. At number 11, I like the Zags. I got a chance to watch them play late night in their, the WAC tournament, whatever tournament they're in, and beat a pretty good St. Mary's team.
The West Coast Conference.
Really, they said that they had to win that to get in. Sabonis, their center, is a nice player. Sabonis is who was his dad played in the NBA. Was
not my Vitas or your Vitas, but he's our Vitas.
Our Vitas. And then, like I say, I think Seton Hall. I'm not big. I'm not buying them. Let's put it that way.
Providence.
The Friars. Yeah, they have a good point guard. I know that.
Chris Dunn.
He will probably be a lottery pick.
I like guards.
Yes.
Or like, you know what else? I'll probably only pick them to win one game, but this is the team that's done it a couple times in recent years from a weird seed, but like UConn.
Yeah.
You could see a UConn get hot, I think.
I don't remember what night Indiana and Kentucky play this week. Is it Thursday or Friday?
I think they would play the second, so I think it's a Saturday game.
So, I mean, Indiana, Kentucky is great television. Great television. To me, that's the game of the tournament. I mean, because like I say, those schools won't play each other, and now they're going to be forced to in the second round, and we'll see how Mr. Crean develops against Mr. Calipari.
Did you check out the leaked bracket on Twitter before?
I did. That's how I found out the Badgers. In fact, I tweeted that Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, followed by Xavier. Yes, please. That was my tweet. And
before they even announced it? You were doing the spoiler?
I was doing the spoiler. Well, I mean,
I'm glad I turned. As soon as I saw that there was a bracket leak, I threw my phone across the room.
Yeah.
I didn't like the 2-hour show.
Oh, terrible.
But I didn't want it to be spoiled by Twitter, so I just threw my phone away.
Charles Barkley, don't ever give him a telestrator again, because he has no idea what he's doing.
We've got to get one of those in here.
We do, and have Charles come in and demonstrate how to use it.
Touchscreen, Vaughn, can we get that?
That's 2 hours of my 2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Then we don't have to just read our picks here. We could put them on a little touch screen.
Mm-hmm. Or we could be the committee, actually, and we could
probably do a better job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably going to do it for this week. Fill out your brackets with the exact opposite teams that we just picked.
Yes.
It's probably not going to go very well. But hey, last year, actually, I got on a roll last year. So if you're going to, it's probably your turn. Pick all Big Ten like Bear.
No, stay away from if Maryland loses on Thursday or Friday, then I'm done.
You're just going to crawl into a hole.
I'm going to be crawling.
Let us know what you think of the show. You can leave a review on iTunes or comment on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Gazette Extra or many of the other litany of things that we're on. We could even read your comment on the show. Let us know who you think, maybe let us know who you think is going to be in the championship, and we'll either call you out or congratulate you if your team's still there after the first weekend. If you want to find us on Twitter or email us.
Facebook.
We're at
Snapchat.
sports@gazetteextra.com.
Yep.
Thanks to Dave Vaughn, our producer, and Kevin McLeod for the tunes. Hopefully your brackets survive the first weekend. We'll hope the same for ours, and we'll reconvene here next week as we get ready to kick off some spring high school sports.
Finally, yes.
See you next week, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Go Bucky.